possible. It was happening out loud, in full view. This wasn't some abstract idea or small cluster of hopeful entrepreneurs. We're talking about a real, thriving, and powerful community of Black business owners, doctors, entertainers, and working families who had carved out a space where they could live, grow, and succeed despite the odds. This part of LA was often referred to as the West Coast Harlem, or LA's Black Wall Street, and it earned that name. It had everything: banks, hospitals, newspapers, nightclubs, insurance companies, churches, schools, all Black-owned and community-centered. But if you've never heard of it before, that's not an accident. The history books didn't just forget it. The city, the state, and the systems in power worked actively to erase it. Because what happened to this community wasn't just neglect, it was sabotage. To understand how this all started, you have to go back to the early 1900s. Back then, Los Angeles was marketed as a kind of paradise, a clean, crime-free, opportunity-rich escape from the violent racism of the South. Real estate developers and train companies placed ads in Black newspapers across the country, telling African Americans that if they moved to California, they could finally live free, build wealth, and give their kids a better future. And thousands of families did just that. They left places like Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi and headed west. By the 1920s and 30s, Black neighborhoods in South Central LA and around Central Avenue were growing fast. And these weren't temporary communities. They were deeply rooted, with churches, social clubs, political organizations, and some of the most important Black institutions in California history. At the center of all this was Central Avenue, a street that, for a time, was the heart and soul of Black Los Angeles. It was more than just a street. It was an ecosystem. You could find everything you needed right there. Black-owned banks helped people get loans when no one else would. Black doctors ran clinics and hospitals because mainstream medical institutions refused to treat Black patients with dignity. There were law firms, schools, jazz record shops, clothing stores, and even newspapers like the California Eagle, which was one of the most influential Black publications in the country. This wasn't just survival, it was success. It was self-determination, and it was a loud refusal to be shut out of the American dream. But the crown jewel of Central Avenue was its music scene. This wasn't just local entertainment. This was a nationally respected jazz hub that rivaled anything happening in Harlem. If you were a top jazz act in the 1930s or 40s, you didn't just perform in New York or Chicago. You had to come to LA and play Central. The Club Alabama was the epicenter. Just across the street was the Dunbar Hotel, where legends like Duke Ellington, Billie Holiday, Louis Armstrong, and Nat King Cole stayed and jammed. Black and white audiences packed the venues despite segregation. Music poured out into the streets, and the culture was so vibrant that Hollywood started paying attention. But that attention came with a cost. While Black culture thrived in these spaces, LA's white elite, especially in government and real estate, started seeing it as a threat. Not because of crime or disorder, but because Black people were becoming economically independent. And history shows us that every time that happens, a backlash follows. LA's answer to Black progress wasn't a violent mob, it was policy. It came in the form of redlining, zoning laws, and eventually the construction of massive freeways that tore straight through the heart of these neighborhoods. This wasn't just development, it was targeted destruction. They didn't just build the 10 freeway, they built it through the middle of Black neighborhoods, displacing families, cutting off businesses, and choking off entire communities from the economic lifelines they had created for themselves. And let's be clear, this wasn't some natural byproduct of modernization. This was a strategy. Redlining maps labeled Black areas as hazardous investments, which meant banks refused loans. Home values dropped on purpose. Schools in Black neighborhoods were underfunded by design. At the same time, white families were given favorable mortgage terms and pushed into suburban developments like Compton and Inglewood, which were originally whites only. The federal government backed this racial segregation through the FHA, while the city quietly used urban renewal projects to demolish Black businesses and replace them with parking lots, freeways, or government buildings. It wasn't progress, it was erasure. During World War II, something unexpected happened. Japanese Americans were forced into internment camps, leaving entire sections of Little Tokyo vacant. Black migrants from the South, many working in LA's booming wartime factories, moved into those empty buildings. And just like that, a new black neighborhood was born, Bronzeville. For a brief time, Bronzeville became another vibrant hub of black life. Churches were started in old storefronts, jazz returned to the clubs, black-owned businesses popped up again, and the community did what it always had. It thrived. But even that moment of hope was short-lived. After the war, Japanese Americans returned to reclaim their homes, and rightfully so. But instead of helping both communities coexist or expand, the city chose to push black residents out yet again. No resources were given to help the black families relocate or rebuild. The Bronzeville moment ended almost as quickly as it started. It was another instance of black people being used as temporary labor, only to be discarded once they were no longer needed. And while LA was growing richer from the industries these residents helped fuel, the black community was once again forced to scatter, with fewer resources than ever before. What followed was a slow, painful unraveling of everything that had been built. The clubs on Central Avenue closed, the businesses shuttered, families that had owned homes for decades were priced out or forced to sell. The city rebranded these areas as blighted and used that label to justify more displacement. And as people left or were pushed out, the myth started to take root. The lie that black communities in LA had always been poor, always been broken, always been behind. But that's not true. The truth is, they had wealth, they had power, they had culture, and they were targeted. If you drive down Central Avenue today, you'll see remnants of what once was the shell of the Dunbar Hotel, a few historical markers, maybe a mural or two. But most people have no idea what they're looking at. There's no major museum, no curriculum in schools, no films or documentaries that tell the whole truth. The erasure was nearly complete. And yet, the memory still lives, in the families who stayed, in the descendants of those entrepreneurs, in the music, and in the fight to reclaim that legacy. Because what happened in LA wasn't just a loss of land or money, it was a loss of possibility. A deliberate effort to prevent black Angelenos from having generational wealth, political power, or cultural visibility. And unless we understand that, unless we name it for what it was, history will keep repeating itself. These weren't unintended consequences. This was policy. This was racism, executed with precision. And now it's our job to remember it, tell it, and make sure the next generation knows what was really lost and why.
We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of our 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountains. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the most on your reparations. That's bringing you those Negro Freedmen hot topics and making the case for reparations. Weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. How y'all doing, family? Welcome, 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 one and all. I see you, Yaira, the first one in class this afternoon. I see you, Brewski. I see you, Danielle. Thank you, baby, for that share this. Yes. Y'all know I'm being shadow banned, and y'all know why I'm being shadow banned. They don't want the TR Ruth. They can't handle the Nirvana smoke. They can't handle the TRP smoke. Y'all know it. Thank you, Danielle, for encouraging everyone to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. And I want to thank Amal for being my number one producer of my last two broadcasts. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Amal. Please, family, if you want to see me come live every day, replace my day job with a Cash App to $TRP TV. Replace my day job, my day slave, my night slave. I'm just on a couple of plantations trying to hang on here in Southern California. As you saw at the top of the broadcast, you saw it. These wiggers, these Crayolas use us as a resource to this very day. I done told y'all, we built this country with our very lives. Now folks is having whole cows because we won't run out for target practice with these glacier donkeys who, oh, by the way, all over the country are giving warnings to the Crayolas to not spit on them, to not throw rocks and destroy federal property, to not draw on federal property. Oh, they threatening graves. Had that been us, they would have annihilated us on scene. Do you understand and overstand and understand what I'm putting down? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? We would have been annihilated. No warnings. You see it happen pretty much on a daily basis all throughout the country by the race soldiers and the deputized. How many of us could go up in these stores and loot? And oh, by the way, when we were doing Black Lives Matter, there may have been a sprinkle of us looting, but for the most part, it was these Crayolas who now want to use us as their life vests while they're in these streets, burning the American flag, spitting on the American flag, and they're looking for not their own kind, not the glacier donkeys, not the Asians, not the East Indians. They're looking for Negroes. Because that is what we've been used as from the time Plymouth Rock landed on us. We were here centuries before 1619. Don't get it twisted. They have whitewashed this history to make you think that all of us come from the transatlantic slave trade. Absolutely a lie. The devil is a lie. Okay? We were here centuries before. So I am here to edutain you, and I need your help. This absolutely needs to go viral because I need you to understand why we are sitting up in our soft life right now, why we are done putting the cape on everyone, while no one gives a damn that we're being ethnocided and economically genocided as California has gone. The nation is gone. How many years have I been teaching y'all that? Just look back at any one of the 400 videos I've done to show you what has been going on in LA. I've been sounding alarm, and yet niggerant Negroes keep showing up to vote against the lineage. And I'm here to tell you, voting the couch when most demon radically run cities are crashing out for illegal criminals is Negro roulette. Welcome to the Negro new media. The new Negro media. Yes, because flat black is to our ethno side. I ain't doing no black nothing. I'm a Negro. That is on my birth certificate. This is the new Negro media, exclusively for the Negro Freedmen. So, let me help you. Little housekeeping. If you don't like what I'm saying, don't come up here and troll me like you do over in X. TikTok, I see you banning all my content, putting violations on all of my content because of my TR Ruth, because I'm trying to edutain the youth over there. I see what y'all doing. Yeah, Racebook, ScrewTube, and why, X, are you starting to trip on me? Every time I come in X, 2 or 3 times a day, I got to verify who I am. Been over there for years. Yeah, I see all y'all. So let me help you understand something. If you don't want to hear what I've got to say, get the hell out. I don't give a damn. I am putting the mask on my specific lineage, like all the other groups put the mask on their specific lineage, giving zero damns about my ancestors whose blood and bones are in the soil of this country, fighting for your ungrateful asses to be in the country of my ancestors. You see, I don't have dual citizenship. Neither do 50 million Negroes. We don't have dual citizenship. This is it. And every time I come on here, I'm fighting for my lineage. I'm fighting for my lineage to flourish. I'm fighting with my voice. I'm weaponizing my voice. I'm weaponizing my vote to socialize my suffering, because when the demon rats are in control of the country, the Negro is the only one in distress. I love the implosion going on right now. Crayolas against glacier donkeys. Glacier donkeys against Crayolas. We are sitting back in our soft life and watching Rome fall. And I'm so grateful that my vote contributed to the war you see going on. It's a whole civil war going on out there. And I am carrying on about my business and encouraging us to do the same. So listen, I ain't got a long time because y'all know before Jamaicans had 50 jobs, the Negroes did. I don't know how Jamaicans got credited with that fact. When we are the most unemployed and the most underemployed, especially out here in LA, you need a good 150 grand a year just to be comfortable. Okay, maybe take a family trip. That's the cost of living out here. That is what our people are up against. I'm putting the mask on my lineage because the plane is going down. And what do the stewardess always advise? Put the mask on your damn self, because you can't help nobody until you help yourself. Okay, let's get into it. I did want to finish my shout out. George Woodchard III, I see you, fam. Brewski, did I say hello to you? And for those of you tuning in from X or tuning in from Facebook, welcome to the live. This is how I do it over here. All right, let me hide this current comment because if we're going to get into it, let's just get into it, okay? Because I have a lot to share, and I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver, but I'm trying to show the puckery one state at a time, and I'm not even done showing it here. So let's get into it. I will do my best. I'm not going to tell y'all when I'm coming, because then y'all going to expect it to be like, she didn't even come. Okay, so let's just get into it. I got some things to show y'all that some of you may have seen, but let's just go back down memory lane. So you saw at the top of the broadcast, I showed you what LA was when they enticed us to come here before, and all of it was a part of a bigger plan. It was a part of a bigger plan. Every place in this country, the Negro has been used to build it. Every industry in this country, the Negro has been used to build it. You know, like how with some of these channels, like Fox and all these different grade B channels, they used a lot of the Negro talent to build up those channels, and then we disappear. Or they come back with their real agenda, LGBTQIAXYZ and Crayolas. Okay? Even when it comes to politics, we build up the congressional black caucuses that really ain't done a damn thing for us. Now it's predominantly the biggest voices. And I do believe the predominance is the melanated immigrant. And who are they in there fighting for? Their own. They're not fighting for the Negro to flourish. We build up Juneteenth. And now you see all the Crayolas, including the Glacier Donkeys, getting in on the act. Not only do they get paid time off from work federally, but they also go out here and just disrespect us, misrepresent our colors, misrepresent our flag. They are doing the most. Sweetheart, I'm live. What do you want? Bye. Ooh, child of ghetto, you see? I had to make sure she was okay. Yes, we have been used as a resource. The continent of Africa. Welcome home. Welcome home. But when you get over there, they charge you $1 bazillion more than they charge the natives. The natives are pissed because our money is driving up the price to be over there. When you look at their housing, they're just throwing up glorified shacks that look good on the outside, but they fall apart as soon as they get a good rain over there. Their water barely run. Their toilets barely flush. Okay? Come on now. Come on. But we're supposed to drop the American way of life and rush to the continent of Africa, who wants to use us as a resource to build Africa akin to how they sold us into slavery, some of us over here. Every place. That LA is no exception. We built this place. And I hope if you don't get nothing else from the top, shout out to Hush Hush LA. I didn't get permission. I just saw it. I had to share it. Shout out to Hush Hush LA. Give them a subscribe. Okay. Give them a sub, because I hope that they don't give me a copyright strike for that. I really hope they don't, because then I'm going to have to edit that piece out. So share before I get a copyright strike. But do understand, overstand, and understand, family, slavery has never stopped for the Negro. It's just taken on other forms. We have built every industry by the sweat of our brow. You understand what I'm telling you? Every last one. We have built this country, continue to uphold this country as they seek to ethnocide and economically genocide us with Crayolas. let's get into it. Share my screen. Make sure y'all can see it. This is Terry Anderson on illegal aliens in South Central. I call them illegal criminals, but you have to understand this was 14 years ago, family. 14 years ago. Let's get into it. Now, I will, in the namesake of time, because I got to go to my other slave, I got to go to work. So I'm going to be jumping in and out and sharing some important statistics in between some of the footage I'm sharing with you today.
Elected officials refuse to address the problem. The black elected officials refuse to address the problem. My own congressman refuses to address the problem. And I think the problem is black folks see all minorities as allies. And this is not the case. These people are not here for our common good. They're here for their own good. Where I don't have any ill will towards anybody, I also want to look out for my race. I'm a black American. I've never used a hyphen, but I will refuse to turn my back on my race and see what's going on in South Central to my people and let these people come in here and just take over. I'm not going to sit back and watch it. And I think it's a terrible thing, a horrendous thing for anybody to see this going on and say, well, he's a minority like me, so I won't speak up. I don't care where he comes from. The key to this whole thing is stop the denial, stop the alliances of, in other words, he's a minority like me, so I can't speak up against him. If this was white folks committing these lynchings to us in South Central, what's going on, there would be an outrage in this country. We have had firebombs thrown through windows. We have had people's cars burned in the driveway because they happened to move into the wrong communities. We had a lady who moved to East LA, came to the state from the South, not knowing what East LA was. It was an all Hispanic community. She wasn't there one day. We had another man who was burned out of his house in Torrance last year. We had 5 murders in Hawaiian Gardens just because the people were black. This would not be tolerated if this was white on black crime. But the fact that these people come here, and it's the numbers, sir. It's the numbers. They come here in the numbers. They build up the Hispanic community, and they get this sense of power against us. And there are race riots in the schools every day in Los Angeles. It never makes the media. The black kids are being run out of the schools every day and told to go back to Africa. It never makes the media. We are having people who are being discriminated against on every avenue of society, economic, schools, even in our prisons now. They have drawn lines, and our prisoners in California are being beat and harassed and raped by Hispanic gang members who recently arrived here because of the numbers. My answer to you, sir, would be we don't need any new laws. Enforce the ones we got.
Okay, so I'm going to, I tried to be quiet. I did pretty good. Okay, let me just do something real quick.
Elected official.
I want to keep him on here while I run through some numbers with you and just discuss the images that I pulled for you today in order to make the case concerning why we aren't putting the cape on and crashing out for Crayola wanton white supremacists, because this gentleman put it very succinctly in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. This was 14 years ago. There's nothing new under the sun. This started happening around the early 2000s. You see, once we built it up, then they started ushering mass immigration and illegal criminals on top of us to legislate us out of the state of California, and they've pretty much been very successful. Family, I'm going to get to your comments as soon as I can. Okay, so just keep it lit in the chat, co-host. Yes. So what they're doing is not just here in California. You see this all throughout the country. Why? Because of the Negro vote. They continue to vote down the lines of party instead of voting in the interest of their own lineages to flourish in the country of our ancestors. The only one we've got. There's nowhere to deport us to. This is it. And the only weapon we've got left for a little short while is the power of the vote. The power of the protest vote for deportation, closed borders. Get it out of your head, because yes, we need to continue to lean in for reparations, but you got nothing coming. Neither party is for it. The Democrats only weaponize it for your vote to your own economic genocide with Crayolas. That's the grift. That's the biggest grift of all. While we continue, not me and not many in my chat, but as a collective, going down the lines of party is how we got to the bottom of this Titanic. Voting the couch is how we got to the bottom of this Titanic. Who do you think is controlling the country for real, when it comes to your state? It is your governor, it is your mayor, and we've got two of the lousiest ones in the country. Well, maybe not the lousiest. They're in great company with Eric Adams, with Brandon Johnson, with Raphael Warnock. You see, these Glacier Donkeys' plans are 150 years long. They decided long ago before we caught on. We just caught on. I caught on after Obama. Many of us caught on after Barack Obama did absolutely nothing for us and then said no to reparations. That's what empowers and liberates Kamala. Well, I mean, before she threw her hat in the ring real good, she was saying, I'm not going to do nothing specific for the Negro. To this very day, you see her, Maxine Waters, Karen Bass, all of these people that look like you and me, some who descend from the line, out here crashing out for illegal criminals. There were no crash outs when Barack Obama was in control of the country. None. So I just want to walk you through a couple things so I can close out a couple things. I want to read to you what Terry Jones said in this one segment here. Hold on. I'm going to read it to you while I keep him on the screen. So this is something I found when I was looking up some for more. Did I say Terry Jones? I meant Terry Anderson. Before you start, I found this post in ARS Open Forum. Before you start, this thread is officially declared free of any racism. It's only about money and jobs. Because the nation can't control its borders. Oh no, correction. They can, they don't choose to. You see, this benefits the demon rats and the repugnant clans and corporations. Yeah. Both sides are for this. Both sides are for cheap labor. Both sides, well, at least the demon rat Crash Out Crockett was trying to sell you on this lie that Negroes are only being replaced in the field. That is absolutely not true. They're taking over in all the trades and all the construction now in the public and private corporate sectors. Yeah, this is why it's hard for us to get jobs all over the country in every industry, even in the film industry. Why? Because they want to bring in immigrants to cosplay us in our own narratives because they don't want to pay. They want to keep the salaries to the Negroes who are demanding equal salaries to that of the white folk. They want to keep those salaries suppressed. No better way to do it than to use a melanated immigrant who wants our position. They want our position. Now, I'm going to stop and share this with you real quick just to make my point. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, I'm not. I'm going to keep it moving because I don't feel like doing a fishing expedition, okay? Yeah, I'll get to it later. But they want our position, family. And so they'll gladly take salaries that are in the toilet, salaries that are not commensurate with the cost of living in the country. They will gladly take those jobs because that's a way to economically genocide us and to obfuscate the only commodity we've got left, the only weapon we've got left, which is that vote. That vote don't matter as much. Well, it does. You definitely vote for folks who for deportation, closed borders, who are in control of the country. But more than that, or even at least equivalent to, your vote matters locally. And when you vote the couch, You allow your local politics to be taken over by Crayola wanted white supremacy who seek to economically genocide you like I'm displaying so far in this particular broadcast. We don't have the luxury of a couch vote. We need the Negro vote because these people are outnumbering us now. I'm just going to deal with LA County stats. Okay, let me just jump in real quick while I'm reading you this. Stand by. So, let me give you some real numbers as to how the couch and a vote for the demon rats have legislated us out. And I'm using LA County because that's my neck of the woods. But this, you can take this blueprint. We are the prototype for how to economically genocide the Negro nationwide. Do know that LA is the prototype. So out here, I looked up some numbers. In LA County, we are 608,769 to the Latino population of 4,696,218. Home ownership. Black households are 33.5% home ownership rate. Latino households, 39.1% home ownership rate. Now, I want to ask you, can you go to Mexico and outpace the Mexican? Where in the world are they giving our reparations, well, their country's reparations to us to become more economically solvent than them? Where in the world can we go and have so much money we got enough to send back to build our homes, our retirement homes in our other country? Where can we, as Black American Negro Freedmen Descendants of the Emancipated, go in the world, earn enough money to live there and to build a home with a median home price of $500,000 in this country or more? Where can we go? So when you vote the couch, when you vote demon rat, you get taken over. Let me go to the next fact I want to share. Okay. In LA County, Black residents face the highest unemployment rates compared to other racial groups. Specifically, Black residents experience an unemployment rate of 10.6%, while those of Asian descent are 5.4%. Hispanics are at 6.8%, and white residents at 6.9%. Negroes, where in the world can you go and be one of the highest, the lowest amount of the unemployed? Where can you go in the world and have low unemployment? When Trump was in power, his first term, Black residents experienced 5% unemployment. 5% unemployment to these niggering Negroes who constantly want to talk against Trump, who constantly want to disparage Trump, who constantly want to make Trump's overt racism more racist than the covert racism of the demon rats. 5% now, and this is not his fault. This is the fault of the Negro vote delivering Joe Crow and Scabala, not mine. It has more than doubled since 4 years of Scabala and Joe Crow here in LA. And this itch has the unmitigated gall to want to run for governor, potentially president again. Let's keep going. Oh, I'm gonna drive these points home until times get better for the Negro. Okay, so it may be repetitive, but my teachers told me repetition is the key to learning. So there you have it. Now they are requiring Spanish just to get a job interview. And if you speak it as fluently as Pedro, you don't have the complexion for hire. These people hate their own melanated. And I know they out here crashing out, talk about how much they helped us doing BLM, how they helped us when we were runaway slaves. To hell with that. They are mistreating their very own melanated people. You don't even hear about them. They are darker than me and you. And you don't hear nothing about them. They hate us darker hued people. Even in their own country, they discriminate against them. Why do you think they come to this country and somehow magically got love for Black life mattering? No. What they're intending to do is to guilt you into running out into the streets like a crash test dummy to use you to upend you. All of this is political theater. They literally allowed these, they put pallets of concrete in specific locations for these people to get buck wild. They're paying them $200 to go out here and protest and wreak havoc. And these glacier donkey race soldiers, these Crayola race soldiers don't do nothing to them. Not out here anyway. They allow them to spit on them. They allow them to burn the flag. They allow them to throw concrete bricks from the overpass to destroy property. And then Karen Bass got the nerve to tell us to come out to help clean up the city because they're concerned about the World Cup coming here, I think next year. Trying to get ready for the Olympics to spend even more money that we ain't got instead of making Negroes whole whom they've legislated out of the state. Down to 608,000 to their over 4 million in LA County. And they don't want to call this discrimination. Requiring a job applicant to speak Spanish in LA County or anywhere in California during a job interview can be legal. They are sitting up here. This is AI saying it is legal to discriminate against the Negro because we don't speak Spanish. But it depends on the specific circumstances and if the language requirement is based on a legitimate business necessity rather than discriminatory intent. How many jobs have you interviewed for that required you to speak Spanish? On the job. I'll wait, put it in the chat. So they're basically, even AI is saying that this can be legal. When we know it is a form of discrimination to lock Negroes out of our own economy, to our own ethnocide and economic genocide. We know why you put it out there. That should not be legal. Let me share my screen. I want to put this up. Hold on. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. Stand by. Hold on, family. I want to put this up on the screen so you can see what the hell is really going on. Here we go. Now, I've shared with y'all on many occasions. I've shared with y'all on many occasions about how we are more degreed than Hispanics. a 2004 to 2014 LA Color of Wealth showed that Negroes were 44% degree to Hispanic, 17% degree, and yet their median income was $50,000, which was within 3,500 of ours at 53.5. Look at where they are now in when was this? Hold on, y'all. Let me find the year this was issued. This is in 2020. Look at where the median incomes are, and we are more degree than them. Now, look at the games they play by putting us under Asian when we should be all the way down here below others. Look at this. As of 2020, Asians' median income was $97,209. This is LA we're talking about, okay? LA County. Blacks, $59,034. So, from 2004 to 2020, our salaries had only grown 53.5. I gotta do the math. Stand by, family. Y'all know I'm a data girl. So 53,500. Subtract that from 59,034. From 2004 to 2020, what's that? 16 years? In 16 years, our median income has only grown $5,534 as compared to the Hispanics who were at $50,000 has grown $20,932, and they aren't as educated as we are down here. The Native American, $76,939. The Pacific Islander, $98,080. The whites, $105,286, and other, $67,463. Now, I told you about the unemployment, but this is 2020. We were at 9.7%. It continued to climb to 10.6. I believe it's more than that. But for kicks and giggles, you see that table. Now, I share with you that we're only about, let me see here. Hold on one second. I want to get you percentages. Just a second, family. Okay. Because of the vote for the demon rats and the couch, the Hispanics are now 48.6% of the population here in LA County. Non-Hispanic white individuals constitute around 25.3%. The Asian population make up about 15.1%, while Black or African American individuals account for roughly 8.3%. Now, of that, they claim that they claim that melanated immigrants are only 2%, which I believe is a whole lie. I believe the melanated immigrant who can afford to be here, based on some information I'm going to share with you momentarily, I believe they're more like half of the Black population down here in LA. But let's just go with their number. Let's just go with we're 6.3% of the population down here in LA County. For kicks and giggles. Let's go back to the poverty rates. So, we're 6.3%. of the population here in LA County, and yet our poverty is 20.1%, as they deny our people benefits. They deny them Section 8. They deny them EBT. They deny them cash aid. They deny them employment. When we are employed, we're the least paid. Hispanics are damn near half of the LA County. Look at where their poverty rate is. Lags behind us by about 6 percentage points at 15.9%. Let's keep going. Higher education. It matters not if you're educated down here. We are twice as educated by 2020. 608,000 of us to their damn near half, over 4 million. We are double in education, but the most impoverished, the highest rates of unemployment, underemployment, the most homeless. We are 30% degreed, with a bachelor degree or higher. To Hispanics, 14.9%. And y'all niggerant Crayolas want to know why we not out there fighting. Want to know why we ain't out there putting the cape on for y'all. Wonder why we doing boots on the ground. Now, I got something to say about these health disparities. Lack of health insurance. They want to say that Hispanics who are earning damn near what was that? 70,000 are 13.2% in terms of health coverage. They lack 13.2% of them lack health coverage, while 6.4% of blacks. We are only 6 point what of the population? We only 6.3% of the population, and yet 6.4% of us lack health insurance. They're 48% of the population, damn near a half, and 13.2% of them lack health insurance. Now, I've got a theory about that. I think it's because they're hiding from the ICE. ICE has started showing up. Now, in 2020, they weren't showing up, but I would venture to say that, I would venture to say that some of this has to do with them trying to stay in hiding, because of the entire illegal population, 40% are in the state of California, of all the illegals. So that's that slide. Let's keep going. Let me close out some of these things so I can get to my other stuff. Stand by, family. I'm coming. Overall population in 23 for LA County was 9.663 million. LA County. Just to give you some perspective. Now, I don't believe this stat either, AI. They're saying that in LA County, approximately 501,000 Mexican immigrants are estimated to be living without legal status, making up about 53% of the total unauthorized population in the county. Well, I believe it's more than that, but That's what AI is saying. So I want to read you that stat. Make sure. Okay, family, let's keep going. Hold on. Close that out. All right, family. Let me share more of what's going on, so y'all can understand, overstand, and understand why we not crashing out. Just a second. Oh, I want to get back to that article. Cancel. Share. Okay. So back to the article. Because a nation can't control its borders, but I just made the case that yes, they can. Look at how Donald Trump has got the borders under control. The number of illegal immigrants grows by an estimated 500,000 each year. Well, it's more than that. This was in 2003, August 13, 2003. As we know that the demon rats are claiming only 10 million have come into the country. Anything the demon rats tell you or their lamestream media that's in their back pocket, you've got to multiply by at least 3 to 5 to get into the ballpark of what it really is. So if they say, for example, there were 10 million illegals that they allowed across that border, factor that there was 30 million. And then you'll be in the ballpark of the real number. They come because we invite them with lax law enforcement and menial jobs. That was in 2003. I just made the case. You don't have a median income of $70,000 and you have to greed as the Negroes here and be out there picking strawberries or avocados. That's not happening. So please, this was 2003. Keep a perspective, okay? Their presence make our own poor more destitute, creating a third world chaos in the California economy that we are only beginning to understand. In April, I shot for a contractor to paint my house trim. I got 3 bids. One was for $1,600, about $400 less than the others. The only condition was that payment be in cash. That wasn't remarkable. That wasn't remarkable. Is there a Californian alive who doesn't know they can pay under the table for cheap immigrant labor? And see, this is how you economically genocide the Negro. This is how you flatten wages, you flatten salaries, and these corporations and layperson alike, interested in saving money, will hire the illegal criminal over the Negro. This is a part of that. The only condition was that payment be in cash. Okay, let's keep jumping. They can pay under the table for cheap immigrant labor. You pay cash. There are no checks. There's no tax record. But this bargain didn't come from an undocumented worker. It came from an established businessman with good references. I ask, why the ethical gyrations? Quote, if I'm going to stay in business, I have to do what the illegals do. They never pay taxes. That's how they got so much money to send back home to build their retirement homes. Take care of their families. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't have that luxury, Negroes. You have to fight with the only commodity you've got left, your vote. You must get out here in Obama-style numbers during midterm and vote these Crayolas out of office. You got to choose. Do you want the glacier donkey racists that you're accustomed to, or do you want them to look like you? Because that's all we're left with after 70 years of not weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering the way I've been employing upon us to do. So they don't pay taxes. Right there, I'm at a 20% disadvantage. They'll come in here with about 6 guys with paintbrushes who work for peanuts, do a decent job. As a matter of fact, a lot of their stuff is crumbling. You've seen, what was that? That big old bridge come down over in the east. Was that in Maryland somewhere? Nothing but a bunch of illegal, I won't call them illegals. I don't know that they were, but they were immigrants, drove that tanker right into some beam in the water, and the bridge collapsed over in Maryland. So not only are they cheap labor, they're cheap labor. They don't do things with the devotion and the dedication that we've always constructed things. So they charge you less, they're cheap, and they're cheap, okay? They're going to do a cheap job. And then they're gone. These competitors have driven every American out of gardening, he added, and are doing it to house painting, roofing, and car repair. He concluded in frustration, what am I supposed to do? Now let's go to Terry. Terry Anderson, a Black Talk radio host in LA, says he sees similar displacement throughout the African American community. Quote, I defy you to find a Black janitor in LA. Now, I defy you in 2025 to go into Compton or South Central, any place where we used to dominate. Go in there and see if you can find a Negro working in banking, working in the restaurants, working in the retail outlets. Back to the text. Anderson says in the 70s, the auto body repair business in South Central was pretty much occupied by Blacks. Those jobs are all gone now. They're all held by Hispanics, and all of them are illegals. And those $25 jobs that Blacks used to hold in the 70s now pay $8 to $10. And a Black man can't get hired even if he's expert. It's absolute discrimination because there's a perception that a Hispanic works better. Isn't that the lie they tell to this very day? That we're lazy, no good, no count, don't want to work? And now, okay, I want to make myself a little bigger. Stand by, family, because y'all can't read that anyway. It's too small. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. He can't get hired even if he's an expert. It's absolute discrimination because there's a perception. Well, he works cheaper. They're in the country illegally, so they have no bargaining power. And the wages get driven down. The point he and Beck make is decidedly not a racial one, not Black versus Latino or Mexican versus white. Their point is about money. My point is about economic genocide. Illegal, powerless immigrants versus relatively empowered American citizens. Who among us could survive if every day the streets outside our workplace were lined with people willing to do our jobs for 2/3 or half the pay, because in the world they come from, in the world where their money is sent, half of our pay amounted to riches. Anderson particularly despairs of the effect the scarcity of low-end jobs has on poor youth. In May, 6.1 million whites and 1.7 million Blacks in the country were unemployed. But of those without jobs, young people took the worst hit. And then folks want to sit around and scratch their balls as to why our youth are being destructive. Why they're out here participating in black-on-black crime and murder. Why they're out here committing suicide, say. Okay? Certain words I can't say or they will take my program down. Yeah, they want to scratch their proverbial balls and ask, well, why are they out here slinging drugs? Why have they lost all hope? in living? Why don't they give a damn about other people's lives? Because when you rob the youth of an ability to make an income the way we once did, you rob them of an opportunity to become men and women, especially our Black young boys. Is that why some of them are taking cover under the LGBTQIAXYZ agenda? For protection? Because you rob them of their manhood? The unemployment rate for whites ages 16 to 19 in the labor force was 15.4%. Okay, this is too long. If you want this article, go to ARS Open Forum. I don't want to keep reading that because it is just involved. Okay, let's keep going. These lights are hot, y'all. These lights are hot. And I'm hotter than fish grease over the shenanigans. Stand by, family. So, I spoke with you about how these Mexicans don't give a damn about their own. They want to sit up here and ask where we are as if they really about that Negro life. They're not even about the Afro-Mexican life. I want to show you. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Survive on what they
Hold on, let me start it over. Where's the volume? Good Lord.
This country is home to more than 1 million Afro-Mexicans, yet these are marginalized and often forgotten communities. They represent around 1% of the national population. Mexico's 2020 census is the first ever to include Afro-Mexican as an ethnic category. Mexico's legacy of slavery began hundreds of years ago.
The slaves in Mexico were in the places where there was mining. This town was founded around the year 1800, most likely by fugitive slaves who escaped to the coastal regions where they could survive on what they found here.
Today, that original African culture still exists in a state dominated by indigenous tradition.
Yet this stretch of coastline between Oaxaca and Guerrero states is an impoverished part of the country. There's not much tourism here, and local industry doesn't extend far beyond fishing and agriculture. Yet few Black Mexicans leave to seek better opportunities, and those who do find the wider country not very welcoming.
Indeed, for Rosa Hernandez, the lead councillor of Santo Domingo Armenta, the Afro-Mexican experience is isolating.
We're a vast minority in this country, so that's why many people have never heard of us. They think we're from another country. They don't consider you to be Mexican simply because you're Black. But we are Mexicans, and it's only fair that they recognize us, that they value us as much as anyone else.
As the Black Lives Matter movement around the world seeks change and equality for Black Mexico, the challenge for these communities is still at the point of showing they exist.
So, like I mentioned prior, they're only here to use you to be the crash test dummies, to be the target practice for these glacier donkeys in the streets, rounding them up, and then they'll be back to whiteness as usual. Let's go to the next slide. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. I'm trying to find this. So I want to show you this. I say here on my Facebook post, Racebook post, Melanated immigrants seek to erase and replace us. Unlike demon rats, Trump is doing what I voted for. Deportation, closed borders. This is why we must finish the demon rats again in 26 and 28, or be finished as a lineage in the country of our ancestors. I want to show this to you bigger. Can I not? Let me close that. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So this was Black demographics. There actually is a systemic bias against African Americans in favor of foreign Blacks. I've been telling y'all that. Black household income, Black demographics, publishing Black data since 2007. So this looks like 12/18/24 when this was published. Look at this. By race and ethnicity. Asians, 111,817 median income, household income. Ghanaian, $84,323. Whites are under Ghanaian at $83,121. Nigerian, $80,711. Total USA, $77,719. Okay, maybe that is when you do a weighted average. Jamaican, 72,972. Caribbean non-Hispanic, 72,657. Ethiopian, $72,438. Haitian, $71,771. Hispanic, $69,467. African, $66,643. Oh, I don't see the bottom of it. What's going on? I'm not currently offline. Y'all, okay. For some reason, I can't see the bottom of that chart. I hope to get to it in another slide so I can show you. Yeah, people in my feed are just in utter income. Oh, here it is. Let's see. No, that's doing this. Let me see something, family. I'm trying to see the bottom of this chart. The fact of the matter is, when you look at, let me stop that. When you look at this table here, you can clearly see why you've got to show up to the polls, because you don't get these kinds of median incomes without having political power, without having weaponized your vote, without having position in not just the Congressional Black Caucus, but also your own caucus that's doing things on your behalf to push the envelope for you. This is why you see the Congressional Black Caucuses fighting harder for immigrants than they are the Negro. We are simply being taxed without representation. This is why they're fighting you to come and vote for your own ethnocide. They want our position. And with these type of salaries, you can have a here we go. I don't know why it was saying I guess I didn't have access. So let's look all the way down to the bottom. I told y'all African, south of Sahara, 66,643. Black African American, 53,927. The source is the U.S. Census Bureau, 2023. American Community Survey 1 year estimates. Community Survey 1 year estimates. So you see us. This is called voting blue no matter who, to your people's peril. This is called voting the couch to your people's peril. 53,927 for Black African American. This is what's happening when you don't exercise the only commodity you've got left to save your line. In a protest vote for deportation, closed borders, when you don't run for public office. These people know that. They know that our vote is being used to our economic genocide. We have no place else to go. You must fight with your vote. Hold your nose if you have to, but get out here and vote for deportation, closed borders, and get this out of the country. This is utterly ridiculous. Let's keep going. I'm running out of time. Now, it's hard not to do 3-hour lives, y'all, because I don't get to come on here every day. I have a day slave, okay? Hold on. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. I want to show you this video. Shout out to Real Robert over at X. And here it is, one of the most shocking whistleblowers in the history of whistleblowing. I couldn't believe that we were giving these people Social Security cards and U.S. passports, for God's sake. The Negro vote swung it in the direction of Joe Crow. He thanked you for having his back and never had yours. He went to work to economically genocide a whole lineage and our justice claim. They got Social Security cards, U.S. passports, free medical, free housing, free food, free everything. With our reparations, that's what's paying for it all. Whistleblower. They were incentivized to qualify illegals for long-term disability, to qualify illegals for Social Security for life. A Social Security base that they never even had to pay into. They were incentivized to qualify illegals for long-term disability, to qualify illegals for Social Security for life. So they were set for life. They wanted us to try to identify them in such a way that they would qualify for long-term Social Security disability. Now, long-term Social Security disability is for life. So if they get identified and qualify for long-term Social Security disability, they are as good as set up for life. That doesn't sound like a refugee to me. Just being honest, that sounds like someone who's planning on staying here. So they instructed us to try to identify, to try to get the client, because once they arrive here, they're now called clients. So they told us that we needed to talk to the client and ask them if they have headaches, if they have recurring headaches, any lower back problems, anything that would qualify them for Social Security long-term disability. This was under Joe Crow and Skamala, whom Negroes voted to put into the White House. Yes, it is insanity, but in order to get Social Security disability benefits, don't you need a Social Security number? Well, we were instructed in that meeting that one of the first things we were supposed to do was sign them up for Social Security. Unbelievable. So they come over here, they get a Social Security number, right? They become legal. Correct. A deliberate strategy by demon rats to use government handouts as bribes to encourage an invasion. Let's listen. Hold on.
Wanted us to try to identify them in such a way that they would qualify for long-term Social Security disability. Now,
what?
Yeah. And long-term Social Security disability is for life.
Yeah.
So if they get identified and qualify for long-term Social Security disability, they are as good as set up for life for medical treatment.
That doesn't sound like a refugee to me. Just being honest.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody who's planning on staying here.
Yeah,
A refugee
right.
stays until the problem's over and then goes home.
Well, that's right. And so they instructed us to try to identify, to try to get the client, because once they arrive here, they're now called clients.
They're called clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because clients pay.
Sure.
See?
Sure. I'm starting
And
to
so,
see where this is leading. Here.
So they told us that we needed to talk to the client and ask them if they'd had any headaches, recurring headaches, or any lower back problems. Excuse me, anything that would qualify them for Social Security long-term disability.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Part of the screening is supposed to be, are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever?
Right.
No. Okay, good. You can come in.
Yeah.
You get on the airplane. Are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever? Yes. Good. So we can give you disability.
Correct.
What?
Yes.
This is insanity.
Yes, it is insanity.
But in order to get Social Security disability benefits, don't you need a Social Security number?
Well, we were instructed in the meeting that one of the first things we were supposed to do was sign them up for Social Security. Yeah.
Wait, this is unbelievable. So they come over here and they get a Social Security number.
Right.
They become legal.
Correct.
Are you pulling my leg?
No, I'm not. And then after we processed them for a Social Security card, then we were to process them for a U.S. passport.
No, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's about the time I kind of decided, okay, I was done. I've heard everything I want to know. I was so angry about this, that they would receive a U.S. passport. It just, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that we were giving these people Social Security cards and U.S. passports and free medical, free housing, free food, free everything.
Yeah, but the thing that bothers me, because the food we can recoup from, and the money irritates me, but we can earn it back and we can stop the program or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But once you give somebody a Social Security number
Mm-hmm.
and you give them what's considered globally the golden ticket, which is a U.S. passport.
Right.
That is beyond comprehension that we're doing this.
That's right.
Do bureaucrats know this is happening?
Well, interestingly enough, no, they don't. A lot of governors are unaware of how many refugees have come into their state, where they're located, under what conditions they've arrived. And I believe this is intentional. Now, we do know that the governor of Texas and the governor of Tennessee have both stopped this, and they're refusing to take any more refugees. In fact, the federal government has filed a lawsuit against both of those states because they're refusing to take any more refugees.
How dare you keep your people safe?
Right.
But okay, so let's just say all the states are saying we want to pull out of this refugee resettlement program from the federal government. Then they're fine, right? There's no other way the refugees are getting in.
Well, no, the state can assert that they no longer want to receive refugees. And then the federal government says, all right. And so then they start implementing a program called the Wilson Fish program. And Wilson Fish simply bypasses the sovereignty of that state. In other words, the state no longer processes the refugees. That means, in plain English, you no longer get to know how many are coming in, when they're coming in, where they're going, how much money is being spent on them, whether they're diseased or not diseased. You've lost all control over the entire situation. And as a sovereign state, you've relinquished that. And so Wilson Fish comes in then, and all of the federal monies that are set aside for this program bypass the state and go to third-party entities. And that would be something like Catholic Charities or Jewish Vocational Services. So it would bypass the state entirely, and they would take over the entire process of processing the refugees.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And as a U.S. citizen and as a citizen of the sovereign state of Missouri, I am not in favor of that. I think we need to maintain our sovereignty, just like we would in the United States. Honestly, we are first a citizen of the state of Missouri because we are a sovereign state. and then we're a citizen of the United States of America. But our first sovereignty and citizenship is to our state. And a lot of people don't realize that. So in order for us to maintain the health and welfare and the security of our borders, we must know who's coming and going.
Yeah, you have to.
Right.
You have to. And FUNU doesn't work for me.
FUNU doesn't work for me either.
And giving them a social security number and a passport actually makes this problem worse, not better.
Correct.
Me speaking, what she's referencing is how they do this under the radar vis-a-vis the NGOs. Okay, the NGOs, Catholic charities, places that we can't go and get any help. These are federal tax dollars and our reparations subsequently. That's why the reparations tab is around 6.2 quadrillion and counting. And that's just for slavery. At 3 cents an hour, for 18 hours a day, from since the country was formed. We're not even talking about the monies for Jim Crow and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. This is the way they're choosing to spend it. Since 75, there's been 3.6 million refugees allowed into the country. And they're benefiting.
Have we been placed at risk? I mean, you mentioned that this is an...
Oh, yes, we're at risk because that was the other point I intended to make. We're definitely at risk because what happened under Joe Crow and Skamala is that they allowed unvetted, unvaxxed illegals to cross that border. And they dropped them in demon radically ran cities and states where we mostly reside and have been legislated out through gentrification. Now mass illegal and legal immigration. Between the illegal criminals, DACA, and the citizens, the legalized immigrants, we are being forced to the South. And now everything I'm sharing with you is encroaching on the South. I'm going to be bringing you other segments that are going to show you how we've been legislated out of New York, how we've been legislated out of Chicago, how this has encroached on the Carolinas. This has encroached on Alabama, Tennessee, Atlanta. What you see is the prototype of economically genociding Negroes in Los Angeles, akin to what I showed you at the top of the broadcast, being replicated all throughout the country. That's what you're seeing in real time with the Negro vote for the demon rat and for the couch. Let's continue.
Invasion. Are we at risk?
I believe we are at risk, Josh, because when they come in, we're urged to compatriate them with fellow refugees, those who have come in before them. We are urged to locate other communities of refugees from the same country of origin, the same language, the same culture as those who are arriving. And so when they come in, and we have had Syrians come in, and we know Syrians are on the list of those 7 countries that have been banned. And so we've received Syrians here in Missouri.
Even after the ban?
Yes.
What?
Yes. And so these Syrians are coming in, and we know that they are coming from a country of origin that has malevolent intent toward us as a nation. And we now know they're not being vetted, and we now know that not only are they coming from a malevolent country or a country that has malevolent intent, and we now know they're not vetted, we're giving them support and we're giving them a passport.
What name do they put on the passport if their name on the thing is FUNU?
I don't know.
Can they just pick a name?
There you have it. Let's keep going. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Welcome to the live. So 175 years ago, Mexicans wanted Black people excluded from California. After they sold it for pennies on the dollar, we built it up. We made California a wealthy haven, a bastion of greatness, sunshine, blue skies. The Mexicans wanted Black people excluded from California citizenship during the California Constitutional Convention in 1849. They helped to codify whiteness into California's legal code and constitution. It should be perfectly understood in the first place what is the true significance of the word white. Many citizens of California have received from nature a very dark skin. Nevertheless, there are among them men who have heretofore been allowed to vote, and not only that, but to fill the highest public offices. It would be very unjust to deprive them of the privilege of citizens merely because nature had not made them white. But if by the word white it was intended to exclude the African race, then it was correct and satisfactory. Pablo de la Guara, 1849. Let's keep going. C.T. Botts, the delegate who had proposed specifying that only white Mexican men should be allowed to vote, agreed with de la Guara, clarifying that he had no objection to color except so far as it indicated the inferior races of mankind. He would be perfectly willing to use any words which would exclude the African and Indian races. It was in this sense the word white had been understood and used. His only objection was to exclude those objectionable races, not objectionable for their color, but for what that color indicates. As the debate continued, other delegates proposed that instead of using the word white as a qualifier of inclusion, they could specify who was to be excluded, proposing that instead of the word white, they could insert the language Indians, Africans, and the descendants of Africans accepted. The debate here illustrates that for these men, the function of the word white was not necessarily to denote pure European ancestry, but to denote the exclusion of particular objectionable elements, is what they called us. Okay. For more context, California was set to enter the Union as a free state, and Anglo and Mexican men were deciding what the term white meant and who could be granted equal status. In the end, white status was granted to Mexicans despite color or heritage. Let's keep going. This is why the Negro is sitting back and not fooling with the bullshiggity in the streets. Ain't nobody crashing out for these racists. Hispanics waged an ethnic cleansing campaign against Black Americans in California starting, well, we just saw it was prior to the 1990s. That was in the 1800s, after our emancipation that we fought and won. They were found guilty in federal court. They are also responsible for the largest anti-discrimination of lawsuit in California history brought by Black warehouse workers. Latino gang charged with racial cleansing attacks in California town. A Latino gang accused of attempting a racial cleansing of African Americans in Azusa, California, has been indicted for a federal rights conspiracy, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Oh no, Blacks. They are out of the question. Blacks are out of the question. Nobody wants a Black person in there. Ricardo Charles, a 30-year veteran Hispanic carpenter, was speaking about what the cliques would say about Black tradesmen in the workforce. Mexican racism plays a major part in keeping Black workers out. Charles says Hispanic crews almost never hire black labor. I would venture to say, to this day, they don't. Mexican cliques in construction. These bigots won't even put the sign out for whom to contact to try to get work on these construction sites. Black warehouse workers say their Latino co-workers' bosses abuse them. Their accusations spurred the biggest federal racial abuse case in California. Some 300 black workers are set to receive compensation from settlements of federal lawsuits over harassment and discrimination at Inland Empire warehouses. This is what the Negro has undergone and why we are only 6% of the population out here in California. The long and violent history of anti-black racism in the Latino community. That was as early as May 12, 23, this article from the New York Times. Let's keep going. This is why we ain't crashing out. Stand by, family. Then we got Mad Max, who some refer to as Auntie Max. Ain't nothing auntie about a Negro who is working in conjunction with illegals and immigrants to legislate the Negro out of the lovely state of California, specifically down here in LA County, which is the best of it all. Let's hear what this coon has to say.
And to have the National Guard come with guns and not have protesters, that's not realistic. People have to stand up for what is right. They have to stand up not to be deported without having an opportunity to make their application and to tell their case and show.
Excuse me, this is where these niggering Negroes are hypocritical. Now, you told us that they needed to have due process, although they're not citizens, to have their day in court. But when ICE shows up to the court after their asylum is denied because they ain't true asylum, they don't fall under that umbrella. They're here for economic advancement at the expense of the Negro exclusively because white folks are set. They have killed for and stolen all of what we're owed. So this is about ethnic cleansing of the Negro, economically genociding the Negro, and our justice claim. So when ICE shows up to the court to take them away, that is their due process. And yet she's sitting up here fighting for these illegals to have rights that they've already been granted. Let's keep going.
Why it is important for them not to be where they're coming from because their lives are in danger. I warn this country about.
So she don't give a damn about the lives of the Negro being in danger of ethnic cleansing. But you could come out here and cape for unvetted, unvaxxed, illegal criminals, some of whom have been in this country for 30 years and still ain't got their paperwork right. You could go out here and be a crash test dummy for them, but I don't see you falling out over our unarmed black men, women, and children being gunned down by the race soldiers nor the deputized. I don't see you crashing out that down here in LA, we're the highest rates of unemployment, underemployment, homelessness, evictions, while being denied the same privileges that you give the illegals to be more American than us. But you're supposed to represent us. Well, not anymore. The Negro vote down here has pretty much made her district immigrant, Latinos, as are most of the representation down here, which is why they get in the way and block our reparations fights and crash out for the immigrants because that's who they get their votes from down here. This is what happens when you continue to vote Demon Rat and the couch. Your vote has no power. Do you want the country to become California? Because that is what we're on the precipice of. If folks don't get their asses up off the couch and go out here and vote for deportation, closed border candidates in the same numbers y'all showed up for Joe Crow and Skamala, in the same numbers y'all show up for the couch, in the same numbers y'all show up for Obama, the Clintons. This is how we got here. We are the prototype for how to get this done all over the country. And we are out of time.
Him early on in his first tenure, I knew he was capable.
So she wants to warn us against Trump. You want to warn us against Trump. While the demon rats are guilty for allowing 25, 30 million illegals to cross this border, dumping them into our communities as the smallpox POC blankets they are, to our ethnocide, ethnic cleansing, economic genocide. But you, looking like a hound dog, want to disparage Trump for trying to get this under control. When his first term, our unemployment numbers was 5%. Now they've doubled, more than likely tripled, more than likely quadrupled here. I told you, whenever you're dealing with the reports, triple to 5 times that number, and you'll be in the ballpark with these demon rats.
Of this kind of disruption. And so now we're getting what I always knew he would be like. This.
Now, Trump had to bring in the National Guard and the Marines because they allowed, on purpose, intentionally equipped these people to take to the streets, to go after ICE, to go after the police. These demon rats are paying them $200 a day to get out here and protest and to act a plumb fool. Why? Because Newsome is trying to set himself up to look more presidential on the issue of our ethnocide, to get the nation to believe that he's a better person to run the country than Trump. Do you see what's going on? This is political theater, and she is one of the actresses.
This is a dishonorable, cruel individual who only cares about himself. And he's using deportation as a way to enhance his position with all of those right-wingers out there.
Excuse me, I'm an independent, and I voted for deportation, closed borders.
We do not want this country to be a country of people coming from other places. It's outrageous, yeah. It is horrible, and we've got to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can. Because
yeah, they want to do everything they possibly can because their goal is to ethnically cleanse Negroes and be down to as few in number as we are here in Southern California, the state at large, because they need a new voter base because of people like me, who was instrumental in helping to sway 28% of the electorate that actually got up their asses up off the couch to go and vote. That was my work I've been putting in for years. Definitely going to take some of that credit for getting 28% of the Negroes who unasked their couches to get out here to the polls to vote for deportation, closed borders. And we need to do it because they have declared war on us, been declaring war on us, and don't intend to let up. They want y'all to have more of a bleeding heart for these illegals than you do your own lineage, than you do your own children, than you do your own grandchildren. While they get reparations to undermine us and tell us no to reparations.
Because I think he's up to creating martial law. He even...
Martial law. These are scare tactics. The illegals are telling us one day it's going to be us. How many times have we been deported? In all the deportations, millions of deportations of illegals, happened under Bush, happened under Clinton, happened under Obama. Number one, nobody took to the streets and did what these people are doing right now. Number two, when Trump deported them the first term, nobody took to the streets all over the country the way they're crashing out now. These are scare tactics to get you to give them the house come midterms. Y'all need to show up and return the missile and not allow the demon rats in power in the House, in the Senate, as the presidents. They should not be able to dominate in government for as long as they have oppressed us, for as long as they've used our vote to ethnically cleanse us. That is about how long they need to be out of office. I said it with a full chest. Because if y'all allow them in, it's a wrap. Let's keep going.
Alluded to civil war.
Yeah, it's already a civil war. And they kill me constantly wanting to talk about how they let's just show the videos, child. Oh my God, is it almost 2:00? Okay. Family, I gotta show it because I gotta move on to the next state next time. I'm trying to see what can I skip today to get to the point. Hold on, y'all. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. Just a second, family. Shout out to Lady Boulay. Give her a sub. She's doing great with her numbers. I'm sharing some things from her because she just really laid this out beautifully.
Gavin Newsom on the left, governor of California, and not. Here are two of California's most prominent leaders. Gavin Newsom on the left, governor of California, and Karen Bass, mayor of Los Angeles. These two people have exhibited what I would consider the worst leadership in this country relative to something like what's going on out there in California. You would think that these people had no experience with rioting and protesting in California. Instead of them taking control of the situation out there, it seems like they have encouraged the protesters to be defiant of the officials. Now, Donald Trump is the chief executive officer of the United States. His job is to enforce the laws of the United States. He doesn't really need the permission of a governor or of a mayor to enforce the laws of the United States, the federal laws. So we have immigration laws on the book. He ran on the fact that he was going to begin mass deportation, as all presidents have done. He just went out and announced his, and he just went about it gangster style. But all of the presidents deport illegals. But they decided that they were going, because they don't like Donald Trump, and a lot of us don't, they're going to stand up to him and basically try to diminish his power as the president. They know good and well when there is a protest in Los Angeles, it's going to be looting and vandalism. Now they've got all those businesses out there are being looted and vandalized, and all of this graffiti writing and all the stuff that people do when they're having a protest like this. Now all of that is out of control based on what we see in the media. And it may not be exactly what's going on all over the city, but if you have a business in that city and your business is being looted, your business is going to suffer.
Okay, to her point, Remember when Tren de Aragua had taken over those apartment buildings? I want to say it was in Colorado. And that dumbass governor came out. I think she was the governor, maybe the mayor, talking about it was only one building. That is what these assholes have done out here to LA. They want to minimize it by saying it's only happening in one sector of LA, that the rest of the city is going on business as usual. They want to minimize its impact. But when you give these people an inch, they are going to take a mile, and they're going to be extremely destructive. And they're going to be what they consider the litmus test on how to get it done, how to get paid by the Democrats to cause mayhem and destruction all throughout the country. But what I love about what Lady Boulay, give her a sub, what I love about what she shared is how other states are getting ahead of this. This is what I mean by these illegals get a warning. We just get shot. Let's go.
In their city. Take a listen to this.
Peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. The key word in that is peaceful. If you let it turn violent.
Now, we peacefully protested for Black Lives to Matter in this country, not to be confused with the George Soros owned and operated Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the ones who they lynched and executed, the grassroots, the soil, Black Lives Matter. And these Antifa types, these glacier donkeys, deputized, were the ones out there. These Crayolas used our Black Lives Matter as an opportunity to disrupt our marches, our peaceful marches, to loot, to burn down buildings, to do all manner of things. Kyle Rittencracker shot I think he murdered 2 glacier donkeys. Let me not call them glacier donkeys. They might have been out there to actually, protest against Chauvin's public lynching of Mr. Floyd. I won't put them in the same category as a Crayola, as the glacier donkey Rittencracker. I'm not going to do that. He shot and murdered 2 white folks that were at that protest and injured a 3rd. And yet we were tear gassed. We had rubber bullets shot at us. You literally saw white women creating a barricade between us and the police. Because when we decide to protest against the annihilation of the race soldiers and the deputized as Negroes, they amp up the volume on executing and annihilating us. Just because the news doesn't report it don't mean it ain't still happening. But these Crayolas and the glacier donkeys and the libtards that are out there crashing out with them, they get a warning.
Whoo! You do not want to do that in Brevard County. And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. So to make it real simple, if you don't want to have any of those things happen to you, obey the law. Go protest all you want. Do it peacefully. But don't you dare break the law.
Now, there you have it. That's in Florida. Let's hear from Texas.
First of all, we want to make sure that what has happened in California does not happen in Texas. Texas is a law and order state. and we will use every tool that we can to ensure order across our state. That includes the deployment of Texas Department of Public Safety officers, as well as Texas National Guard in strategic locations where they can provide the most robust response where needed. There is freedom of speech. However, if in your protest you damage somebody's property or you harm an individual, that's violating the law and you will be arrested for it.
So it sounds like these governors are going to be ready for whatever jumps off in their state. So let's see what Virginia has to say.
So there are a number of planned demonstrations starting tonight and heading into the weekend. And yes, I fully support our First Amendment and its protection of the right to demonstrate. But I want to be really clear, crystal clear, that there will be zero tolerance for any violence, for any destruction of personal property, business property, for disrupting traffic and putting people's lives in danger. And if you violate the law, you're going to be arrested. And so we are mobilizing substantial resources across the Commonwealth, state police, local resources, and yes, National Guard resources to make sure that we have substantial presence across the Commonwealth to, yes, make sure that First Amendment rights can be exercised. But if you violate the law, you will be arrested.
So, to her point, when you take that position as a state, you don't have to be taken over by the National Guard and the Marines, because you are out front the issue. You see what's happening, what's being allowed to happen for political expediency, for election interference. You see what's being allowed to happen in LA. Yes, while Newsom did get the courts to rule to turn over the power of the National Guard back to him, the Ninth Circuit Court, after Trump put a suit on his ass, went above him, and the Ninth Circuit said Trump is still in control because they clearly have exhibited that they don't have control. And we are not about to allow this thing to get bigger, waiting for them to seize control when all they're seizing is an opportunity to run for 28. If that were Negro, we'd be dead on scene. Let's continue. This is why I'm on part 3 of why we have to end the demon rats. This is why. Now you're starting to see. And this series will continue till I ain't got nothing else to give on it, which I feel like, buckle up, buttercups, that's going to be a long time coming. Stand by. I'm just trying to share. I'm trying to get down to my pertinent shares. Here's some scare tactic. Let's see what this girl has to say. I'll stop in between and weigh in.
Trump and his MAGA cronies are a threat to our democracy. They are a threat to the republic. In response to the ICE raids in Southern California, I've seen a lot of people say that Black people, this is not our fight. And I'm here to tell you that that is factually incorrect. My name is Sidoni.
Once again, let me interject on this immigrant. She was in the country. Her parents were illegal. And you're going to hear from her that she didn't get citizenship till she was 17. I want to remind you, as I did prior, that in all the years they've been deporting illegals while flooding the country with them. I have not heard of any stories where Negroes were caught up and deported. Let's continue. Scare tactics.
I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and I have lived in the United States since I was a baby. I will tell natural born citizens something that you don't really think about, but it takes forever to become a United States citizen.
So her solution to it taking forever to become a U.S. citizen is to break the law. something that Negroes don't even do and get murdered. Unarmed black men and women and children get murdered. They get thrown in jail without bail, without proper representation. But she wants to advocate on behalf of staying in the country illegally until whenever, until you can become a citizen. 17 years.
I came here before I have memories, and I did not become a United States citizen until I was 17 years old.
Giving zero damns about what it costs the Negro economically, what it costs the Negro in terms of our reparations, our Social Security, our taxes, taking care of them. Give zero damns about that. But we're supposed to be afraid of deportation in order to be crash test dummies and bulletproof vests for these illegals who hate us and want our position.
I was a senior in high school. I had lived my entire life in New York City. I didn't know anywhere else. I had no memories of anywhere else. But the place that I considered home did not consider me one of them until I was 17 years old. ICE is not just looking for Latino immigrants, okay? ICE will make their way into Flatbush, and they will pick up Caribbean people. ICE will make their way into Harlem, into the Bronx, into these majority ethnic communities, and they will take whoever doesn't look the part as a U.S. citizen.
Excuse me. Number one, if you can prove that you're a U.S. citizen, they're not deporting you. Let's stop those lies, number one. Number two, you guys aren't allies akin to the Malcolms and the Kwame Torres. You guys are not that. You're not that. You're not here to ally with us. As a matter of fact, your people are standing in the way of us getting lineage-based cash reparations. We got to fight melanated immigrants for what we're owed, even though they're not giving us access to anything they're owed in their countries.
Our country is rapidly shifting into a fascist state. So to sit down and say, oh, it's not my problem because it doesn't directly affect me is not a smart thing to be doing. Because
it's very smart. Because it's in us getting involved that we're now on the bottom. I've shown you the numbers. Press rewind if you're just getting here. We're now on the bottom because all of y'all been on the tit, eating well, living well. Yeah, we are wise to put the mask on our lineage when the plane is going down. Y'all taught us tribalism. You're not even Black American until it's time to be entitled to everything that we are owed. And there's nothing left for us to have advantage with. Because y'all done absorbed all of it with your money and your political power in our country.
I'll tell you this. The 14th Amendment is exactly that. An amendment. It can be changed. What we are
it can be changed concerning getting y'all out of it. It can be changed with respect to illegals stepping a foot in the country and birthing U.S. citizens under our 14A. That's the Negroes who descend from the emancipated. That's not for you. Yeah, it can be changed in that sense, in terms of being real clear that it was for us and not for immigrants to become U.S. citizens while force-feeding abortion to the Negro.
Seeing right now the hunting of particular ethnic groups, the detainment, the mass collection, it looks very, very familiar to something else that I've seen in world history.
Yeah, all of the fear-mongering towards Negroes, that can't happen to a Negro. And listen, they know us from them. And you got everything you need to prove that you are a citizen, even if you look like me. If you got that proof, you good. This is about illegal criminals. This ain't about folks that are legally here. So you're safe. But I don't give a damn what color you are. You're not an ally to the Negro. Well, some of you are, with very few exceptions, okay? Very few exceptions, some of you are. I'm not going to lump everybody in the same category. But collectively, you want our position and you act like we don't see you. Ain't that the rub? You act like we don't see what you're doing to gain economic and political power in the country of our ancestors, only to stand in the way of us getting up off the bottom. Ain't no way in the world I can go to the Caribbean and get paid the way you do in the U.S., build wealth the way you do in the U.S., and run your politics the way you do in the U.S. That needs to stop too. Immigrants should not be allowed in Black politics. That should be Negro from the soil in every branch of government, because you see what happens when we are not in control of our politics at every branch of government. Not good. Let's keep going. Oh, it's 2:05. Sugarfoot. Oh, I got to get out of here, y'all. Hold on. So this video I wanted to share because the Latinos will get Black folks fired off their jobs. That's how slick they are to give their people position. Let me share this video. Hold on.
A contractor for General Electric.
Now, this is an African gentleman that owns a business. The Latinos were snitching against African-American workers to get them fired and replaced by other Latinos. Hold on.
Who are working in my company. I'm a Black man. I own a company. I hire a Latino. The Latino comes back and complain about the African Americans because the Latino thinks because I'm African, I don't have any relationship with the African American. The Latino comes to me and tell me that you are an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. That African American cannot work. I have Jose, I have Gonzalez, my brothers who know how to work very well. You need to fire the African Americans, and I will bring a lot of hardworking Latinos who work for your company. This is my company as a Black man. My company. I was a contractor at Quantico Marine Base in Virginia. A contractor for General Electrics. And the Latino workers that are hired, they are snitching on the African-American workers that are hired for me to fire the African-Americans so they can bring Latinos to take their place. Because who are working in my company. I'm a Black man.
All over the country. In every industry. Urban Negro removal. With the Black vote for the demon rats in the couch. Let's keep going. I'm just trying to get to the pertinent ones that I want to memorialize here. What's that? In California, I discussed this already. In California's largest race bias cases, Latino workers are accused of abusing Black colleagues. Leon Simmons is among hundreds of Black workers who say they faced racial harassment at Inland Empire warehouses. Okay, so he got a settlement. This is what's going on. This is why we are relaxing. Let's show some more bullshiggity going on. This is a nightmare. This is why Trump had to send in the vote. All of the looting.
Hey!
Hey, keep that shit pushing! Why Trump had to take it over? if enough businesses haven't left here already. Let me share this one. Democrat Demon Rat Representative Maxine Waters calls for the U.S. to give citizenship to illegal immigrants as protests continue in L.A. Waters said all elected officials should be on the streets with the illegal protesters. The mayor should be on the street. The city council should be on the street. Everybody should be on the street. All of the state elected officials, all of us in Congress, they're now saying the quiet part out loud. This is what they're doing. Fighting harder for illegals than they do the Negro. These are our replacements. Is that the same thing? So, Maxine Waters' push for citizenship for illegal immigrants is exactly why H.R. 2454, the No Citizenship for Alien Invaders Act, is critical. Rewarding law-breaking undermines every American who followed the rules. Waters even floated deporting Melania Trump, a naturalized citizen who came here illegally, proving her hypocrisy. The bill blocks naturalization for those who entered unlawfully, ending the incentive for border chaos. Instead of pandering to illegals, D.C. should prioritize citizens. Waters wants elected officials on the streets with protesters. How about enforcing the laws instead of virtue signaling? America first means citizenship for those who earn it, not those who break in. Let's continue. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. Just sharing some of my top X-Files. And it wouldn't be a demon rat if they weren't looking to raise money. Here's Governor Newsom fundraising off the LA riots over illegal immigration, all while refusing to accept help from the National Guard. This is unconscionable. Hold on. To the people of LA and across the country who are protesting these immigration raids, don't give them the spectacle they want. Never use violence. Speak out peacefully and in large numbers. I know many of you have been watching the news about this, so I thought it important to reach out. Thank you for reading. Okay, before you go, we are humbly asking you to support Gavin Newsom's campaign for democracy with a contribution. If you believe demon rats need to go on offense, even in red states, we're asking you to donate $20 to help Gavin Newsom get it done. If you care about abortion access, voting rights, and the future of our democracy, please take a minute to donate today. We'll put your contribution to work, taking the fight to red state authoritarian leaders. It wouldn't be a demon rat if they weren't seeking to grift off of the horrors of our albatross of mass immigration and illegals. It wouldn't be a demon rat if they didn't look for a way to grift. They create the problems, then want our votes to be the solution. Whoever paid for this should go to jail. I'm calling on the FBI to seize all of the footage collected by the hundreds of cameras in and around LA in order to determine what truck delivered these cinder blocks that were used on ICE agents. Whoever paid for this goes to jail and must have their bank accounts seized. Agree? Yes, I do agree. Let's show you. Who paid for this? Is this what that $20 million is being used for? They claim that $20 million was being used to use some transgender woman to entice more men over to the party. They've been chopping these cinder blocks up, throwing them at the police cars, throwing them at the police. Had that been a Negro, however. Had that been a Negro. Let's keep going. I want to memorialize some of this atrocity going on. They're rioting to demand that illegal immigrants be allowed to enter the country unlawfully and undocumented while stomping on and burning the American flag, while also proudly waving the flag of the country to which they truly pledge allegiance. We are being used as a resource. Let me share. This is who the demon rat politicians are giving cover to. Uh-oh. Stand by. Let me share. I don't see it. Hold on, family. I hear it, but I don't see it on the screen. Hold on. I don't know what happened there. Let me try again. Let me make sure you can see it. Let me back it up. Okay, why can't you see it? This is wild. I don't know why. I can see it sharing, but they're telling me I can't see it here. Just a second, family. Yeah, they won't let me share that one. I'm refreshing it to see if that works. This is crazy. This is crazy. Yep. I'm sharing it. It says sharing this tab to StreamYard, but you guys don't see it. Hold on, family. Let me try something else. Give me a second. Let me try to hook this up to my the box instead of the Wi-Fi. See if that'll work. Now they won't. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this will work. Let me stop. Let me see. Hold on. There it is. Okay, the Wi-Fi was bugging, y'all. My apologies. Let me blow this up and start it over. But let them tell you, oh, it's small. It's only in one segment. It's only in one sector of LA. It doesn't matter that they just thrown up about 10 of these Waymo cars. You know those ones that drive themselves? Yeah, that matters not. It's only in one segment. We don't need the National Guards. We don't need the Marines. It's not that big a deal. We got it under control. That's what they're doing, destroying LA. Had this been the Negro. Let's continue. Had this been the Negro. What's this? Hold on.
This country is home to
Oh,
more
I
than 1
shared that
million
already.
Afro-
Stand by. I have to take these out. Got a few more to share with you. I love this from Actify Press. You mean to tell me if I don't believe a person that came here with their own identity should be able to use mine, I'm the problem? I kind of love that one. Thank you, Actify Press. I'll keep going. Now, this is kind of violent. But I want to show you something here. Hold on. This, I don't want to play the video because I know that ScrewTube is looking for any reason to strike the video. But I want you to see this grown-ass boy and this tiny African-American girl. Now, I've got to dig deep to find out what became of this. But as far as I know, the latest update I got about this brutal fight from this grown-ass boy, I wanted to show you this as an example to let you know that they're allowing these illegals that are over 18 into the classroom to brutalize our children, to sexually violate our children. I'm going to stop sharing that and share, well, that's not up. I just want to show you that visual to help you understand, understand what our children are going through. Wow. Let me show this. While the LA public schools protest students and families at graduations from ICE, they're protecting students and families from ICE at these graduations. And I would venture to say at large. Let me find that article. Hold on one second. Stand by, family. I want to share this with you. It's dangerous. Absolutely a danger to our young people trying to get an education to have illegal, grown-ass illegals sharing classrooms with them. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing that so I can share this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm out of time. Hold on. Good Lord. I hate all these ads. Stand by, family. Let me see if I can remove it. Hold on, family. Stop. Oh. Hold on, family. I'm trying to read it, but Daily Mail UK, I'm having issues. 2 illegals accused of raping girls say sex was pre-planned. Lawyer for one of 2 illegal immigrants accused of raping a girl, 14, in a high school bathroom says the victim had planned the encounter with at least one of the defendants. Jose Montano, 17, and Henry Sanchez Milian, 18, have been charged with first-degree rape and sexual offense in attack at a Rockville High School in Maryland. Police say Montano and Sanchez first approached a 14-year-old girl in the school hallway and asked her to have sex, but she refused. Teens then allegedly forced her into a boys' bathroom stall and took turns raping and sodomizing her. This is what happens when you don't weaponize your vote. The brutal beating and raping of our young people by these grown-ass illegals. They say they're 17 and 18. I'm here to tell you that some of these grown-ass men are actually enrolling in our schools to get access to our children, to do heinous things to them. Let's keep going. I'm down to my last slide or two. What is this? Immigrant citizens are shifting 40 points to the right isn't surprising. You go through the process, file the paperwork, pay the fees, and wait for years to do it the right way. Then you get here and see demon rats letting millions in illegally pushing to fast track their citizenship and using your tax dollars to help them stay. Yeah, people who follow the rules are fed up, and rightfully so. Let's hear from this young man.
Immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, let's think about this. You immigrate here the right way. You file the necessary paperwork, or you pay an attorney to do that. Then you pay the fees to turn in that paperwork. And then you wait the appropriate time before your application is accepted. Just for example, that's one example. But just the idea of doing everything the right way, waiting your turn in line, and then being let into the country. But then you look over and you see a bunch of people who are just recklessly being led in the country by the Democrats. And then you see the Democrats talking about giving them a fast pathway to citizenship, or just not really wanting to enforce immigration laws and letting them stay here illegally. And then you're seeing people that are murdered in this country due to lax immigration laws. Otherwise, those people would still be alive today. On top of that, you came to this country because you like its ideals and its values. And letting a bunch of people in unvetted cannot vet that. So, I mean, it makes total sense why immigrants would really start shifting to the right on this. People do not enjoy choosing to do something the right way and then seeing other people that lie and cheat the system get the same result they do. Human nature.
Love that. Love what that gentleman, I think his name is Jeffrey Mead on X, had to share. Oh, okay, family. I have finally gotten through all of what I wanted to share with you today. Let's see what you guys have to say about I am so over this nonsense. Now, you guys are hooked up to the box now. I'm not even relying on Wi-Fi, and yet I'm getting this nonsense. I think that's an indication that that's my time. Let me see here, y'all. I want to just give love to all of my family that joined me for this broadcast. George Woodchart III, I see you, fam. See who else came in here that I have to thank. You guys have been so busy keeping it lit as my co-host in the chat. I'm so grateful to you. Till G841, Ivy Dreams. I can't thank you all enough. 23 Archer 28. Report all potential illegal aliens. Pan Mulattoism. Okay, thank you for joining the live. Let me see here. Marshana Clark, thank you. Bobby Jefferson. I want to thank each and every one of you for keeping the chat lit. On my next job, I'm going to try to respond to everything you guys put in the chat. I'm having some glitchy things going on over here. A Mexican killed a Black woman, college president in Inglewood, California. Oh, Lord. I didn't know that. I know that there's another woman, not in California, another Black woman. Lord have mercy. Mexican killed Black woman in Inglewood. Was that the Inglewood birthday party ambush that you're referring to? In 23? I see where Inglewood police shot and killed Akeisha Shelley. Okay, what I'm going to do in the namesake of time, Ivy Dreams, if you could send me that article, then I can incorporate it another time. Okay, she was a dean of a college. She was from Atlanta. Oh, my God. To my point, I want to thank you all for keeping the chat lit. Hold on one second. Yeah, please do, sweetheart. I am so out of time. There's a Negro 14-year anniversary coming up on the 17th for good news, y'all. Mine and my husband's. Awesome. Congratulations, Jaira. Okay, guys, I want to do our I want to just put up the moral of the story. I want to do our declare and decree, and I want to pray us out. I want to thank you guys, first of all of you in the chat for keeping it lit. I will respond when I get time on my next gig, okay? But I got to get ready for that gig and get out of here, so I'm early, which is a new on time. The moral of the broadcast is we cannot afford to vote Demon Rat nor the couch. It is to our ethnocide and economic genocide. The Demon Rats and the repugnant clans, but more specifically, whom we've been giving our vote for 70 years to, not me. I stopped after Obama. It was third party, and then it became, okay, I got to eke me out of tangible deportation, closed borders, seeing what has happened to us, and experiencing what has happened to us out here is how I ended up pretty much scouting for deportation, closed borders to vote for. Now, if you can't find them, I know Brewski has a hard time finding them in New York. Well, it's by and large due to the fact that we've been voting the couch and for Demon Rats. So it's going to be hard to find, but it is going to mean going to the other party and pulling from them as a resource. Yes, the midterms and the general, my ticket bled red, okay? Because those are the ones who in large part that want this out of the state of California, so that's who got my vote. I don't give a damn that it's uncomfortable to vote this. You can't get us caught up in a perpetual cycle of lesser of two evil voting. And when the whole lineage is on the line, choose the couch or choose to continue voting Demon Rat. That's not what we're doing. So my voice, since we did deliver Trump, is going to be used to make that case. Each and every broadcast I bring you is to make the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering, because like I said at the top of the show, that when Demon Rats are in control of the country, they do nothing with it to uplift us out of bottom caste. They do everything they can to get rid of our justice claim and our entire lineage. That's what they're empowered to do, and they're using our votes to do it. Yes, Brewski, I know it's horrible for candidates. Even the Republicans support immigration. Well, in those instances, I don't have a problem with you voting the couch. I'd rather you vote the couch than to vote Demon Rat. But please, 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 encourage more from the soil to run for office. Okay, I know people have been asking me to run for office, but it's a challenge when I can't even pretend to give a damn about anyone but my lineage. Unakin to the rest of the country who, and all these other groups who want our position. So all of my energy is being used to show it and to tell it. I'm weaponizing my voice. So I can't run because I can't hide that fact. I can't pretend to be about these other groups because I'm not. So for those who can play that and still get in there and be for the Negro, you need to run. You need to be from the soil. We're not voting for immigrants to be in control of the country anymore. That's a done deal, and prayerfully, it's not too late. So we need y'all out in Obama-style numbers, voting for deportation, closed borders. This ain't a party thing. It's a Negro flourishing thing, okay? With that being said, let me do my declare and decree and pray us out. Hold 1 second, family. I declare and decree that the highest form of righteous judgment is served over all corrupt beings of the government judicial system, including the police officers, CPS, Child Protective Services, judges, attorneys, repugnant clans, demon rats, FBI agents, the CIA, and all personnel working for the public sector and the U.S. KKK corporations with wicked intentions. All hidden corruption and agendas are now destroyed forevermore in spirit and in flesh, in sleep and in awakened states, across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. And with that being said, family, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Negro Freedmen descendants of the emancipated and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until we meet again, family, I'm not going to tell you when, because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your Saturday and weekend. Enjoy it. Go do some line dancing. Love up on your friends and your family and watch the mother sucker burn, okay? I want you to relax and know who you are, and more specifically, whose you are as God's chosen, God's favorite, God's beautiful, God's brilliant. The strength of God is in each and every one of us to overcome all of these demons, okay? And we have done and will continue to do just that. And until we meet again, family, I am sending you a ton of peace, love, and reparations, family. Yes, I am. Stand by for the outro. Thank you again, my co-host. I love you so much. I'm sorry I couldn't get to your comments, but I thank you for keeping it lit. Peace, family. Thank you.